Hey there, and welcome back to another restoration blog. This is where I keep you updated with what has been happening around the shop over the last month. I have been doing a ton of work to the off-road wrecker, and as you can see behind me, it's loaded up and ready to head out to the Matt's off-road games. By the time you are watching this video, I will be already on my way to Utah. So let's start with the off-road wrecker and then see what else is going on. The wrecker's all loaded up and ready to go, and I know I made a video last week that I said the wrecker is finally done. Well, it was just really bothering me that I didn't have the rear sling, so I've put the rear sling back on. I know that I would be regretting it if I didn't have it. There's just so many uses for this thing, and I have no idea what I'm going to encounter when I get out there to Utah. I decided to put them onto the original bumpers. This, of course, gets me all that height that I had needed to gain back here. And I actually had 9 inches of metal sticking down off the back of this thing. So this is the way to do it and keep my ground clearance. Those really don't add anything for the departure angles. And of course, the sling is removable if I want to take it off and set it in the back or set it on the trailer and not use it. I also have another new addition. I was packing up things, getting ready to go, and realized that maybe I should have a mount for the high lift jack. So now I have these nice aluminum knobs here that can be unspun, and then the jack will come off. It's really nice to have this attached to the truck, and it's completely out of the way. Otherwise, I would have had to find a spot just to set it in here. It'd be rolling around, rattling around. There's really not a whole lot of other things going on back here. Last month was February, so it was extremely cold. I wasn't really driving anything. Once it warmed up, I have been driving my Series 3 Land Rover around quite a bit. After having the new Defender, driving the old Series, it's very noticeable that this does not have power steering, and it's also really noticeable that this does not have a 5th gear. Besides that, it seems like the same truck. This one is actually right-hand drive. The new Defender is left-hand drive. The interior and dashboard of both of these vehicles is so similar that besides having power steering and a 5th gear, you can really tell that these are the same vehicle. I really love this new Defender, and I can't wait to start fixing it up and making some upgrades. There is a local rallycross today, and unfortunately with all the packing I had to do, I was not able to go to that, but I did have both of my rally cars ready in case I was able to do that. I just have so much to do, getting everything packed and ready for heading out to the off-road games. Over here I have my 1967 Sunbeam Alpine Series 5. This is the 3rd car that I ever bought, and I still own it today. I have this out because I'd like to get it running much better. This car had a Solex carburetor on it when I bought it, but there are no longer any parts made for that carburetor, so I upgraded it to a Weber, and I never finished doing the tuning on it. So I'd like to get this car on the dyno and try to get it running as best as I can. So look out for a video on this car coming up soon. Now I've got the barn find Ferrari. The Ferrari is up and running. The fuel tanks were full of crud, and the fuel pump was all rusted up. So after replacing the fuel pump and fixing some of the spark plug wires, the engine now does run, but this car will not shift into any gears. The hydraulic pump that actuates the transmission is no longer working. And they do make a kit to upgrade this car to use the pump from a Ferrari 360. So I have one of those on order from England, and I'm waiting for that to show up. But the good news is the engine runs and it sounds just fine. So I'll just show you. We can turn the key. Car starts up, sounds just fine. It's idling at probably 1200 RPM, just as it should. But if I try to do anything with the paddles, nothing. And that's because the transaxle on this car is hydraulically shifted and the hydraulic pump is not running. Over here on the right-hand drive Sunbeam Tiger, which in England, these were called an Alpine V8 because Tigra was a name that was already licensed in England, and so Sunbeam could not use the name Tiger. I have a new set of headers for the engine. These are from CAT, the California Association of Tiger. They are still having headers made for these, and so this is a new set going on to this engine. So this engine is almost ready to be dropped into the car. Then over here is 1985 Porsche 944. Although this is the same year as my black 944, this one is actually completely different on the inside. Over here on the bench is the upgraded water pump for these cars. Basically, you're taking the water pump that was made for the later cars and putting it onto an early car. And to do that, you do need to clearance a little bit off of the shield. But after you've done that, you will have much better cooling capabilities on your 944. Now, an update on the Ford Bronco. I finally got a new grille, and everything seems to be lining up pretty well now. This was a dual fuel tank model, so holes had to be cut for the fuel tanks. This is a Ford licensed brand new grille for the Bronco. What's interesting is it actually has the Ford logo stamped into the grille, but then they cover that up with big bulky fake letters. If we look here at the old grille, you can see what I mean by that. And it's not that those are stuck on for any reason. The Ford is stamped into that sheet metal, and then they drilled holes and they cover them up with these letters. Not sure why Ford did that. I suppose they decided in the end that they wanted either the Ford to appear more prominently, or it was actually cheaper than masking off the letters and painting them. But I kind of wish they would have just left it alone. I think that it being stamped into the steel makes a lot more sense for something like a Bronco. Everything on the 1963 is going really well. The car is just about ready to have some paint put on it. So the first places that are going to get paint will be the edges here, along there. This car has had a lot of paint jobs over the years, and it's supposed to be black in here, but someone has painted that blue, so we'll return that back to black. Up here in the headlights, of course, you would not be able to get to this area to paint that afterwards, so this needs to be painted blue right now. And here's something really interesting on these cars. This bit of the dashboard right here is actually painted body color. That's a piece of plastic that fits behind the regular part of the dash, and that part was actually painted body color. So along with the standard door edges, this part here will also need to be repainted blue. So hopefully the next time I show you the Corvette, it'll be looking completely different. This one has turned out to be one of those projects where you think everything is just fine, but then you start to take some of the paint off and there's a lot more work than you expected. Since it's a bit nicer today, I can bring you outside. The snow is gone, and this is an air compressor that I bought. I had been filming a video trying to get this running. I still don't have it running yet, but some of the things out here might be lost videos that are never going to happen, or perhaps they are things that I will eventually get to. On this one, winter came a little bit too soon before I got it done, but it has an Isuzu diesel engine in it. I'm pretty sure I will get this running, but whether or not there will be a video, I'm not sure about that right now. I have a couple old Austin minivans out here. These are going to be for parts. I would like to take the 3 minivans that I have, combine them together, and make one working minivan from them. Look at this wheel. The rim has completely rusted away from the center of the wheel. So these things are in pretty rough shape, but they're still usable parts on them. I did start making a new video on the Caterpillar D4, but again, on that one, I don't know if I'll ever finish it. I think I actually started it a couple years ago. I did several videos getting this thing up and running, using it. I just fired it up the other day ago, so it's still running fine, still working. I do have an oil leak that I need to fix, but this also might be one of those lost episodes I'll never get around to finishing. Another video that I've been intending to make for a couple years, but I haven't got around to it, is fixing up this old double-decker trailer. So this is pretty neat. This is an open stacker trailer. And actually, last time I used this, I did have 2 cars on it. I had a Jensen Healy on the top and another Jensen Healy on the bottom. The battery is shot right now for the hydraulics. I do have a solar charger on it. You can see it's pretty dirty from this winter. So I'm pretty sure that battery is no longer any good. It's probably not charged up. I had some ideas on some upgrades to do to this trailer. So let me know if that would be a video that you'd like to see. Also, the operation of how this trailer works is kind of neat. So maybe you'd like to see how this stacker trailer works. I'm pretty sure that this is a home-built unit, and this is probably the only one like it in the world. And that's what's great about these restoration blog videos. I can show you things that you normally wouldn't get to see. So if you want to see any of these things in videos in the future, let me know in the comments below. And of course, to see those videos, you need to subscribe. So comment below and click subscribe.